We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe, Issue 1. This is a series from Tekno Comix from 1995, based on a concept by Gene Roddenberry with additional character creation and development by Miguel Barrett Roddenberry and story development by DC Fontana. The actual writer was Lawrence Watt Evans, pencils by James Callahan, inks by Aaron McKellen, Ken Brusinek, letterer Tony Kelly, colorist, Kel-O Graphics did the computer colors and films. Bill Sienkiewicz did the cover, which is pretty cool looking, kind of related. Raffer Scheineck was the in-house colorist, Erika Taguchi was the graphic designer, and James Chambers editor. So there's a lot of people that worked on this book. The book opens with this ship in space, and they're going to this guy, Dr. Grange's planet, and he seems to be really intent on going home, but something's not quite right, and the pilot seems to know that. So he forces a landing by his family farm, only to find everything is overgrown, and these bat wolf type creatures are attacking him, and they seem very feral and barbarous where they hadn't been before. They used to be very peaceful. When they make it to the human colony, they are told they're not allowed to have weapons, and they're attacked, and things go horribly wrong, and we're left with a bit of a cliffhanger ending. It looks like the locals are pretty hostile. For the interested parties, this one does come with a card wedged in where the staple is. It's a scratch off thing with a trading card attached. Make sure your copy has that if you're a big completionist. Overall, the story is good. It's interesting. It jumps right into it. It doesn't give you time to really get to know the characters, but you do get a little bit about Dr. Grange. His mysterious captain, however, is very much just mysterious and busty because they knew how to draw people back in the 90s. The art is a little rough. It does need a little refinement, but overall, it's still better than most of what Marvel's putting out today. So I'm actually going to recommend this. I thought it was fun. They drop you right in the middle of a story where you don't know much about Grange, but you know something's going on, and you're going to find out at the same rate he does, and it looks pretty interesting. So I'm intrigued to see where it goes, and I'm going to recommend this. I thought it was fun. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you want to help the channel in other ways, links are in the description, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe, Issue 2. This is from Tekno Comix from 1995. Script by Lawrence Watt Evans. Pencils and additional story concepts by Mike Harris. Inks by Aaron McKellen and Frank Percy. Computer colors by Tony Kelly and Kel-O Graphics. Additional story concepts by Ron Fourier. Pencils on page 3 by James Callahan. Letters by Ken Brusinek. Bill Sienkiewicz did the cover, which is a really cool looking cover. That dinosaur looks awesome and the chick looks hot. I dig it. Edited by James Chambers. Scientific advisor was Dr. Charles Sheffield. Okay, so the whole thing we saw last issue may have been some kind of simulation based on VR probes. I don't really know what they're going for here. That was a little muddled, but we get a history of what happened. It's currently the year 2996, and there was a large migration of people from Andromeda, like 7 billion people, and they all settled on this planet Malay. Now, Malay had ruins of an ancient civilization that's referred to as the Old Ones, and all these races were allowed to investigate that and see what's going on. In the middle of this book, there is a trading card inserted with some scratch-off things. That was kind of a promo thing for a contest they were doing, so if you're a completionist, you'll want to make sure that's in the center of the book. Well, we get to meet some of the other crew of the ship, and the ship is known as the Deliverance. Well, Dr. Grange, upset that his planet doesn't appear to be what it used to be, is going down in a shuttle. We also learned that the planet now has a third moon, and it dipped before, and that may have been the cause of some of the discrepancies because they knew what the planet used to look like before they lost contact with it. And it was apparently some time ago there was an event with an incoming rock or something that was called the Andromeda's Revenge, and they sent a nuke up to stop it, and it somehow created like a third moon and threw the planet off its axis a little bit and caused dramatic fundamental changes to the surface of the planet. So this was actually a really good issue, but it does kind of feel a little cheap at the beginning when you find out that last issue was a VR simulation. But there's a lot more detail here and a lot of background, and I like that. We get to see some of the crew and learn a little bit about their personalities. We also learn that there is a planetary network, sort of like a space internet, called the Plan Net, and there are 3 laws: to bring knowledge, offer choice, and trivolution. And that is basically their commands, the things they want to do, and it's mostly about bringing knowledge to lower civilizations and learning from higher ones. So pretty interesting concepts. A lot of good stuff here. I liked this issue. I thought it was really solid overall, even though the whole VR thing was kind of a stunt. It was pretty interesting, and I'm not sure where they're going with it and what the VR thing had to do with anything, but maybe that'll be explained more in issue 3. So I'm actually looking forward to reading the next issue to see where it goes. I didn't realize Tekno Comix actually had some pretty good stuff. This was a good surprise. So I'm going to recommend this. You can usually find this in back issue bins for $1 or $2. I don't think I've ever seen any of these more than $2, and usually you can find them in much cheaper bins, a little banged up, but this is definitely worth reading. So if you can find it cheap, I'd say pick it up. Pretty interesting stuff, but you'll probably want to pick up the first issue as well as this one for it to make more sense, and probably the subsequent issues. This only ran for 7 issues, so hopefully it's worth reading the entire thing, but we'll see how the next issue goes. Until then, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel in other ways, links to my Patreon, Streamlabs, and Teespring are in the description, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe issue 3. This is a 1995 series from Tekno Comix. Ran about 7 issues. This issue was written by Ron Fortier, pencils by Mike Harris, inks by Aaron McKellen and Frank Percy. Ken Brusniak was the letterer. Bill Sankiewicz did the cover art, which is this really cool space scene. There is another cover. It's called the Flip Cover by James Callahan. Brimstone did the flip cover colors. Agni Mogg, Stan Maddaloni, and Mada Design Inc. did the colors, edited by James Chambers, and Dr. Charles Sheffield was the chief scientist. So they did get scientific consultation on this book, which is interesting. Well, Grange stole a shuttle and went down to the planet. Penultra and a couple others go down after him, and we learn what led up to these events. We learn that Penultra and her apprentice are assigned to the ship to investigate what happened to the colony that was effectively abandoned years and years ago. It sounds like the colony was abandoned about 600 years ago, and nobody knows really what happened to the colony, but they're supposed to pick up this doctor and Grange. They don't know anything about Grange. He's still a little bit of a mystery, but that kind of brings us up to the present day where the shuttle Penultra accidentally runs into some of these flying bat-like creatures, and that causes a serious problem that's probably going to come up next issue. In the center of the book, we do get another trading card and a scratch-off thing that was some sort of entry for a contest or something, and there's also a cool 2-page spread of the ship and some details about it, which was kind of neat. It would have been a cool role-playing aid if you wanted to play this in a sci-fi game like Alternity or something. We see what's left of the colony, and unfortunately it's not a whole lot, but we do get to see the ruins, which look rather like weird Eldar stuff, and we're left with this really cool cliffhanger ending. All in all, it's not a bad story. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a better story than last issue, so it's kind of picking up pace. Was it worth $2 back then? No. That was a lot of money for a book, and this is just a kind of middle-of-the-road book. It's not fantastic, it's not bad. This issue is definitely better than the first 2 issues. Second issue so far is easily the weakest. But the art is pretty solid. It's not bad. It's better than last issue, and the coloring looks really good. There's some cool innovations around this time where you could actually get like marble floors and stuff like that without having to hand draw them. You could do it with the computer, so you get a lot of cool backgrounds like that, and I thought it had a lot of really good stuff. So this issue actually explains quite a bit and was a good lead in to the next issue. So it's picking up. This is easily the best issue, and I think you could probably jump in here and not worry too much about it. So if you find this in a bargain bin, I'd say pick it up. It's definitely worth $1 or $2, and it has a kind of a cool sci-fi feel to it. So I'll recommend this. The flip cover, it's not a big deal. It's all the books are like that, so there's only one actual cover. There's just 2 on one issue. It's not a variant. But that'll do it for this this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel in other ways, links to my Patreon, Streamlabs, and Teespring store are in the description. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello, and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe, issue 4 from Tekno Comix from 1995. Script by Ron Fortier, pencils by Mike Harris, inks by Aaron McKellen. Ken Brusniak was the letterer, and Gui Mao, Stan Metaloni, and Mada Design Inc. was the computer colorist on pages 1 through 16. Kello Graphics did computer colors for 17 through 22. Cover art for the standard edition was by Wang Guinan. Cover colorist was Don Cassidy. The flip cover was by Jordan Raskin. Flip cover colorist was Brimstone, edited by James Chambers. There is an alternate cover, a variant edition by Bill Sienkiewicz, and that is actually a $225 price tag on the cover, and it came with a trading card of the Technophage. The $195 version is the standard edition, and it's got the two covers. The one cover looks kind of silly. That's the flip cover where the guy with his mouth open on the ship. That I thought was terrible. The Bill Sienkiewicz cover is easily the best one. Alright, so this issue kind of goes into a little bit more. We learn a lot about what's going on, why Dr. Grange has these weird memory things and why his eyes are white, and we find out that he is in fact a clone, and that there are these like white android type creatures they might be cyborgs of some kind, I'm not real sure, but they put up a resistance to uncovering a person in a sealed container, and that person is in a little bit of medical distress, so they have to get him out of there. And then the bat creatures attack, and that was a really cool fight scene, and we learned a little bit about what's going on there, and one of the guys tries to resolve that situation. We're left with a cliffhanger ending. This was a solid issue. This was actually the best issue so far, because we actually get some explanations. They've got some scientific jargon in here about how some of the stuff they've been encountering was impossible, how the planet probably was not attacked the way that things were said in the records, and there's also the fact that this guy in the chamber was sealed there for 500 years, and that could be a bit of a problem in itself. So there's a lot going on in this issue. The art's okay, it's not the greatest. For the price point from the time, it would have been very exorbitant for the quality of the art, but I really like the way the artist draws the bat guys, the wolf bat flyers, whatever. They look really cool, and overall I thought it was a fun story. This issue is definitely the best one in the series, and I'm intrigued to see where issue 5 goes. I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't go longer, but it was probably due to the price point that the story never really got rolling. It isn't going to appeal to as many people when it's almost double the price of another comic from a main publisher. Really happy to pick these up because this has been a pretty fun series so far. First couple issues I wasn't real sure about, but it's good back issue bin material. If you find it in a quarter box or dollar box, I'd say pick it up. And this issue is a pretty reasonable point to jump on. It kind of fills you in a little bit, so I'm not overly upset about that. I think you could enjoy this one on its own, but definitely the series was improving by this point, so worth checking out if you can find it in a bargain bin. And I would try and find the one with the trading card inside with the really cool Sienkiewicz cover and the higher price point. It usually goes for the same amount, so you might as well get the trading card and the cooler cover. That'll do it for me. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel in other ways, links are in the description, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe issue 5. This is a 1995 series from Tekno Comix, written by Ron Fortier, pencils by Rich Buckler and Rich Buckler Jr., inks by Aaron McClellan, Frank Percy, and Tim Toey. Ken Brusniak was the letterer. Computer colorist was Angie Mung, Brian Wong, and Mada Design Inc. Bill Sienkiewicz did the cover art. This cover's kind of psychedelic, crazy. You can tell it's early really computer work, but it's kind of cool. The flip cover, which is of the lady with the dinosaur, that's really hot. Nice picture. I like that one. It was Gary Kapowski's Quapis. I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Flip cover colorist was Brimstone, edited by James Chambers. Alright, so both the covers are actually kind of cool. We pick up where we left off with the guy in cryostasis coming out of it, and it leads to a lot of confusion because it turns out that this is the real Dr. Alexander Grange. That means the other person is a clone, and we learn an explanation about that, and we also learn the fate of the man that was taken captive by the flying wolf bat people, and that was a really fun situation. So we learn how the clone was made, and we learn that he is very frustrated and probably a little frightened, and he's now going to go by the name Xander to separate himself. And we're left with a hint that something nefarious may be afoot, and that's the basic crux of the plot. It was actually a pretty solid story. This series is getting better, and it's a real shame it's only 7 issues, but this does transfer over into a different series that went for about 6 issues. That was Xander and Lost Universe, and we're going to look at that one later down the line, and I'm interested to see where it goes. So yeah, I was actually pretty impressed with this book. I thought it was pretty solid. The art is a little rough in spots, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. And overall, I think it's worth grabbing out of the back issue box. It's a pretty solid read. This issue's not going to make sense without the previous issues, but it is definitely a fun story. So I enjoyed it for the little bit that I paid for it. I paid less than $1, so I don't feel cheated for my money. I'm sure it's in a bargain bin somewhere, and you should be able to find it for $1 or less. I don't think I've ever seen these go for more than $2. And for that price, yeah, it was good entertainment. It's definitely better than a lot of stuff that's on the stands now. So I'll recommend it on that front. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel in other ways, links to my Patreon, Streamlabs, and Teespring store are in the description. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe, Issue 6. This is from the 1995 series from Tekno Comix. Script by Ron Fortier. Mike Harris was the penciler. Inks by Aaron McKellen. Letters by Ken Brusniak. Bill Sienkiewicz did the cover art, which is this really cool, weird design. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. The flip cover of Penultra is actually kind of cool, but it's not as good as the Bill Sienkiewicz cover, which I thought was awesome. Flip covers by Michael Weir-Ino. Brimstone did the colors for the flip cover. The computer colorist was Angu Mong, Brian Wong, and Mada Design Inc. Dr. Charles Sheffield was the chief scientist, and James Chambers was the editor. So they're trying to establish still what happened to this lost colony. The actual Dr. Grange is having a tough time coming to terms with his family being long dead for 500 years. And when Xander, his clone, shows up, they get into a huge fight. Meanwhile, Duncan is trying to figure out what's going on with the limited amount of surviving written material from the colony, and he is married to one of these flying bat wolf things, and she is being challenged for leadership, so he has to get a champion, and he gets Frosthawk to do the race that's required, and it actually works out in his favor and solves 2 problems at once. This was actually a pretty solid issue. Things are coming to a head. The art's okay. It's not bad for indie art. I thought it was a pretty solid issue all around. The series definitely got better as it went. Now, unfortunately, there's only one more issue in this series before it relaunches as Xander and Lost Universe, but I think there's some really cool concepts here. They go into a pretty good amount of descriptions about things like cryogenics and stuff like that, which, you know, for the 90s was pretty advanced stuff. So this issue is worth checking out. It's good back issue bin material. I'd say it's only worth like $1 or something, but it's a good read. It was fun, so I'll recommend it if you can find it super cheap. Beyond that, it's probably not worth hunting down, but if you come across it, it's pretty fun. This one could be enjoyed on its own. You're not going to get the full storyline or anything, but the race sequence was cool and the fight scene was pretty good, so I think you could enjoy it on its own, but it's better as part of the larger narrative. And like I said, the first 2 issues of this series so far have been the weakest, and this issue was a definite improvement even over last issue, so solid improvements all around. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel in other ways, links to my Patreon, Streamlabs, and Teespring store are in the description. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe issue 7. Script by Ron Fortier, pencils by Mike Harris, inks by Aaron McKellen, computer coloring by Ogni Mong, Brian Wong, and Mata Design Inc. Ken Brosniak was the letterer. Bill Sienkiewicz did the cover art, which I like the cover, it's a cool concept. James Chambers was the editor. Now this is the final issue of this series, and we find the Deliverance cruising along. It looks like they're going to land in the atmosphere when suddenly they experience a magnetic fluctuation of some sort that seems to be pulling them in, and they lose all power. Well, that means that one of the members of engineering has to go into a duct to get to some controls and restart the systems manually, and they only have a handful of systems that can be used. And we learn a little bit about a theory as to what happened with the asteroid that was going to hit the planet originally, and it looks like Plan Nat back on Earth has a few ideas of their own and a mysterious person. This issue very clearly leads into Xander and Lost Universe issue 1, which we'll be looking at in the future. But for a final issue, it's kind of a weird one because it doesn't really even feature some of the main characters. So I'm not sure if this was intended to be a final issue because it doesn't seem like it. It looks more like Xander and the Lost Universe actually was intended to be issue 8 instead of an issue 0, and the story seems to continue on. So we'll look at that more closely, but this was a fun read. It was a really interesting thing to see the crew members actually being a little more involved. They weren't very well explored beforehand, and now we get to see them working and doing stuff and trying to save the ship. And it was a pretty cool sequence. It had a very Star Trek feel to it, and I thought it was a fun issue. It kind of doesn't fit with what was going on previously in issue 6, but it's a good solo story you could enjoy by itself. The last couple pages are the only things that aren't going to make any sense because it's leading into the next story arc, but overall it was a fun issue. It's a good quarter bin find easily. If you find it for $1 or less, I'd say pick it up. You can enjoy the space adventure of them trying to save the ship. I thought that was cool. It had a lot of really Trek feel to it, good sci-fi stuff. It was fun. Is it going to be completely memorable? No. Is it going to be a classic? No. Is it worth cover price? No. It wasn't back then either. $2 was real steep for this book back in '95. And nowadays, if you find it for cover price, it's probably a little overpriced. But if you can find it for $1 or less or something equivalent, I would say pick it up out of a discount bin, but it's really not going to be anything mind-blowing. But it was fun. I didn't hate it or anything. The art was good. Story was solid. It was just a space adventure scenario. So worth checking out if you can find it cheap. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel in other ways, links to my Patreon, Streamlabs, and Teespring store are in the description. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.